Welcome back to Kimchi Rednecks. So, the weather outside is cooling down a little bit. It's looking like it's thinking about maybe being fall.
Does that mean it's pumpkin spice season?
Only for them basic bitches. So, one of our favorite things to make when it starts getting a little cool outside is chili. Everybody loves chili.
And Chuck makes a fabulous chili.
There's like 9,000 different recipes to make chili. And anybody that tells you that they have the definitive way to make chili is lying through their face.
So you have a theory that chili is what? Because you put everything with the kitchen sink in a chili.
Chili is the Mexican version of gumbo. It's throw that in the pot. I mean, you start off with a tomato base, you add some stuff, you throw some spices in, boom, you've got chili.
I came in one day, he was throwing like potatoes in and garbanzo beans. I'm like, what are you making?
Now, that in particular recipe, a guy I used to work with in DC, his wife was Middle Eastern, and she made a version of chili that had carrot and parsnips in it, which I thought was really weird, but I tried it. It was actually really good.
See, I think carrot in a chili is really good. Parsnips can be hard to find in Korea, though.
They are very hard to find in Korea. In fact, they're hard to find in a lot of places. If you can find them, you know, you just chop them up, you throw them in the chili and cook them. They hold up well, they hold their texture, and they don't have a very strong flavor, so they mix in well with everything. You can substitute potato. I have done that. It's not bad. It's a little weird. If you're just making a lot of something because you're like on a diet, it's not the worst thing in the
You've
world.
also substituted chickpea?
Yes, chickpea.
Which we are not doing today.
Chickpea is a thing that I will put into chili, especially if you're making a long cooked chili, one of the ones that you put in the crock pot for like 6 or 8 hours. Chickpeas hold up very well in the cooking.
So Chuck is not using the crock pot today to save the dishes fairy from having, if you can see in the background over there, even more dishes. Because I've been doing dishes for days.
Yeah, you know, somebody always wants, every time you cook, you destroy the kitchen, you use all the dishes. Wah, wah,
Do
wah.
I really whine that much, or do I just do the
Yes.
dishes and appreciate the food? Because I have witnesses who will remark on how bad you destroy a kitchen when you cook.
I won't argue that.
He will pull out every flippin' dish I own and be like, okay, so I'm going to put my spices in this, and then I'm going to put it in. I'm like, just put the spices in the freaking thing.
Oh yeah, I'll stage cook. I'll put everything in a thing and it's like an assembly line. This goes in, then this goes in, then this goes in.
I love this man, and he can cook like I don't know what. You need to have your own person to do dishes after he cooks in your kitchen, because it is destroyed.
I won't argue that point. I do make a lot of dishes when I cook. So anyway, we're going to go over the basics of what we need for chili, because chili's not that hard to cook. So Melissa's going to jump in and she's going to make
Sweet potato cornbread muffins.
To start off with, normally I have one of those big like 30-ounce cans, 32-ounce cans, whatever it is, of stewed tomatoes. I prefer that.
But they were out.
And then I have like a can of diced tomatoes with chilies, and then maybe like one of those little rotel.
But they were out of that too.
We didn't have any of that. So what we got is 4 cans of diced tomatoes because that's what we could get. Then we have...
Well, they can only see 3 cans. There's a 4th can hiding.
There's a 4th can in here somewhere. So we got some chili pinto beans. That's
your
tomatoes.
dice.
She's got all the things turned around so I can't see what I'm picking up. Some black beans.
Black beans, and then the next thing you'll pick up is dark red kidney
And there's
beans.
dark red kidney beans. My basic recipe usually has dark red kidney beans, light red kidney beans, and black beans. Light red kidney beans and pinto beans are same, close enough. Garbanzo beans are a good add. If you don't like one of the others, you can just swap it out. On the meat side of things, we have
1 pound.
meat, garlic. We're using
Pre-minced.
but you can use garlic powder if you just want to flavor it. You can use garlic cloves if you want to smash them and throw them in, or dice them and throw them in. Knock yourself out. Salt and pepper. Everybody knows those. And to flavor, the 2 main ingredients you have are cumin powder and chili powder, or chipotle powder. Melissa's got some fancy schmancy
It's an organic frontier. I get them from Amazon.
Yeah. And then some smoked paprika because, well, that's just... So obviously we've got onions we're going to chop up. We're not going to waste time doing that on camera. Meat. Some people will say, and I have heard this many times, to brown your meat in a Mexican beer. But I have tried that before, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't add any flavor to the beef. In fact, it just kind of poaches the beef if you do that.
Ew.
Honestly, the only thing I can think of is people say to use Mexican beer in chili instead of water, because don't drink the water in Mexico. Most Mexican beers are very thin. Your Tecates. And
maybe if you made it too thick, or you opted not to use the juice from your diced tomatoes. Maybe.
That's a possibility. Honestly, I just say if it's too thick and you need to thin it out, use beef broth. It's better. It's just better.
It's just better. All right, so.
Anyway, so we're gonna chop some veggies up. We're gonna strain some beans. You want the beans, not the bean juice. Strain the beans, chop the veggies.
The tomatoes will keep their juice with them for now.
Right.
Until we determine what we needed.
Well, tomatoes keep their juice. Beans, you want them rinsed.
So, in the meantime, we are going to chop up green pepper and onion, and we're going to strain beans, and we'll be back.
All right, so now here we are in the kitchen for the personal, face-to-face, intimate cooking.
Oh. Wait, are you sure you want me here for this? If you're going to be intimate with the audience?
Well, you can come here and I can whomp you with a spoon.
No thanks, I had grandparents that did that.
Yeah, if you have never had an elder relative whomp you with a wooden cooking implement, you are not from the country.
That's not done anymore, Chuck. Nobody gets whomped that way anymore. We don't need to discuss it.
I don't know, I kind of enjoy it.
Well, maybe later. If the dishes fairy takes care of the dishes.
Anyway, so first off, we've got
1
the
pound
meats,
of ground beef.
which we're going to throw on here. I don't really like these eyes, but we're going to use this because it's easier. Before I get to the seasonings, this is a common measuring tablespoon. I do not normally measure with one of these. I generally measure by the palmful, but fortunately, a palmful is about the same size as a tablespoon. So we're going with that. A palmful is going to be roughly a tablespoon.
Okay. And the teaspoon, what are you gonna? You're just going to use the teaspoon when you need a teaspoon?
Well, a teaspoon's about half a palmful. I'm guesstimating here, guys. Work with me.
These are Chuck measurements, so you're going to have to go with it, people.
Right. So anyway, for the beef itself here, we don't put in big seasoning. We just season the beef. So we're going to do about a fat pinch. That's like a 3-finger pinch. And some lollygaggers of salt.
How much pepper is that?
It's just a light dusting. Now this is going to seem like you're double teaming up because we're going to put pretty much all the seasoning we're going to put in the chili on the meat. But that's because you want your meat seasoned. But we're not going to put as much on the meat as we put in the chili. This is just a preview. What do I got here?
You got paprika.
That's the paprika, okay. But for the most part, in both segments of cooking, on the meat and the chili itself, you're going to want equal parts of cumin and chili and about half of either one of those of paprika. All right, that looks about right. When it smells like chili, stop seasoning it.
All right, so then we're just going to brown that, Chuck?
Yep, we're going to chop this up, mix it, and brown it. Because you don't want big chunks of ground beef in your chili. You want small chunks of ground beef, so that means you got to break it up. All right, so once this heat comes up a little bit more and you hear the meat start to sizzle good, we're going to add in our veggies. So the veggies mix in a little bit with everything. Oh, and the garlic. I forgot the garlic.
You did forget the garlic.
So, depending on your taste for garlic, we're going to put about 2 cloves, 2 teaspoons, whatever the little one is. All right, so yeah, that's what we're going with. Mix it up, cook it up. All right, so we have dumped our green peppers and onions in with the beef because you want to swirl them around for at least a few minutes, let them soak up some of the beef juice. The thing I do want to point out is since we're using home ground beef here, this was a fairly lean grind of meat, so there's not a lot of
extra fat.
Not a lot of extra fat rendering out of it. By all means, if you are cooking with like some Costco grade, beef tube that's like 70-30 beef or something, and you have a lot of beef oil in your bowl,
you're gonna want to
drain it. Don't rinse it. Whatever's on the meat, leave it on the meat. But you want to drain it out and get all that extra grease out. But you want to keep the flavor that is stuck to your beef and your vegetables. Like I said, we've been stirring that around for a few minutes. It's got some. When you cut these, you want them cut in big chunks. Otherwise, they're just going to disappear if you cook it for like 4 hours. Anyway, next up.
We put all the beans after I drained them all together, so he's adding all the beans now.
So add those in. Different people will tell you to do different things in different stages. I like to apply my seasoning now before I add the tomatoes. We're going to get, for the pot, we're going to start off with about a half a palmful, so that's probably about a teaspoon of salt.
Which salt are you using right there?
I am using coarse sea salt.
Okay.
But it is always easier to undersalt in the beginning and adjust later. You can put more salt in, you cannot take salt out.
Do you put another, how much total did you put in?
I just added another little pinch to it because it looked like I had a bald spot.
So a teaspoon and a sprinkle.
Yeah. Well, you basically want to sprinkle it around and you want to get it evenly distributed through the pot. I mean, you're going to add a bunch of liquid. It's going to distribute it anyway, but... All right, for the pepper, I'm a big fan of pepper, so I'm going to go with the full palm full out of the gate. All right, chipotle peppers. Speaking of peppers.
Pepper.
So your chipotle pepper and your chili pepper, our specific one we've got here is chipotle. But your chili powder mix is going to go for... All right, start with that. That's about
Another tablespoon.
Another tablespoon. You can add a little more dusting in if you think it's looking light.
Now your cumin.
Cumin, this is the other one you're going to get. This one also is going to be a large palmful or a rounded tablespoon. Swish it around.
On to the paprika.
And then the paprika.
Paprika.
This one is probably going to be about a teaspoon or a half palmful. Now, we like garlic.
We do. So how many teaspoons are you adding?
Well, there was 2 that we cooked into the beef, so I'm going to add another
2,
maybe 3.
Okay.
Now that's just us. If you don't like garlic as much, scale it down. I'm just going to pour tomato sauce.
Are you going to pour the tomato sauce first?
I'm just going to pour the tomatoes right on top of it.
So that's the diced tomatoes with their juice. So 1.
We're going to start off with the 3 cans.
2.
And I think we're going to need liquid. Yeah, let's go with all 4 cans, and then we're probably going to need liquid to even it out.
All right, so Chuck has added about a can of water to that. We just added some hot water in.
Anyway, so you want to bring enough moisture in that it's basically liquid up to the top. And honestly, from here, it's pretty simple. Turn it down to low, medium, low. 2.5, 3 on the dial. Cover it up, let it go. Come back in about 3 or 4 hours and taste it. Adjust as necessary.
Well, you come back and stir it every once in a while, too.
Well,
since you're home.
Yeah, if you're home. If you put it in a crock pot, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay. So I'll see you in a couple hours.
Righto. So, Melissa's in the kitchen.
Yes.
And she's stirring the chili, which has been cooking for a bit.
And Chuck has added a little bit more salt to it, he said.
Yeah, I added about another half palmful of coarse salt and stirred it up. That was literally all it was lacking. And it is doing pretty good now. So it's just sitting in its cooked down simmer state.
Yes, so we're going to get started on our sweet potato cornbread muffins. The first thing I've done, I didn't want to bore you guys with, is I mashed sweet potatoes. And I mashed Korean sweet potatoes, and I will show you a picture of the lovely sweet potatoes that I mashed. You only need a half a cup for the puree. However, I have dogs who have an affinity for sweet potato. They know the word in 2 languages. Therefore, I made them mashed sweet potatoes to go with their dinner. Because, well, everybody should get a little home cooking, right?
Mm.
And they can't have chili.
No.
No chili for them.
It's not good for the dogs.
No. So, I have mashed up my sweet potatoes. The next step is going to be, this recipe, by the way, is from Peas and Crayons. I will include it, as always, in the description. But first, we're going to start by getting our dry ingredients together. The first time I made this, we left a step out. I don't remember what it was we left out. It might have been the baking powder. But I remember we left something out.
We left the flour or something out.
I don't remember what it was, but I had to go back and make it again because we left something out. So, very important you do not leave anything out. So, 1 cup of flour, a cup of cornmeal. And this is straight yellow cornmeal, so not a mix or anything. The very first step just really literally involves putting all of your dry ingredients together first. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. 1 teaspoon of salt. a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a quarter to a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. We like nutmeg. So I'm just going to go with a half just because that's what I have out. So we're going to mix all of that together. And we're going to set it aside because we have to brown our butter. So we've got a half a cup of unsalted butter here. And the browned butter, you don't want to do it very fast. So I'm going to turn this down as low as I can get it so it'll go kind of slow. Because it's very easy to burn butter. And burnt butter is not very good.
It's right, not Chuck? Tasty.
Go slow.
Looks like I can hear that.
I know. I just turned it down again. I also chose a specific honey to go with this because it is sweet potato. Almonds and sweet potatoes go together really well.
Oh, is that one of our specialty honeys that we ordered?
From the bee folks.
From the bee folks, yes.
We'll put a link for them in the description as well.
They sell good
They have
honey.
good honey. We're not sponsored by them, but their honey is really fabulous. They want to sponsor us though, I would not complain. I could make a lot of honey things.
There's totally a bunch of stuff we can make with honey.
I can make everything with honey. We could just eat honey. Sometimes we do.
Hey, honey and biscuits is totally a country thing.
Chicken, honey, and biscuits also a country thing.
Damn it, now I want chicken and biscuits.
Damn it, you're having chili and cornbread.
Oh, woe is me.
It's a rough life when you can't have what you want, eh? Alright, we are still
melting it down.
So here's where you're going to have to start getting careful and watching it because you do not want it to burn. And I literally cannot turn this down any lower without turning the flame off.
Is the flame still on? Yeah, it's still on.
It's
okay.
Lightly on. So basically my goal is to get it browner, which if you can see in the pan, some of it is starting to get a little bit darker. Brown, not burnt.
Brown, not burnt.
It's a good distinguishing mark to have. So literally, I don't know, it's not going to show really well.
I can kind of see it on there.
Yeah, so like I said, very easy to screw that up and burn. All right, so now we're going to add in our sugar, our sweet potato, our milk, and our eggs, and our honey. So I'm going to put the honey in first. This is going to take 2 to 4. I'm going all full 4, I think. What do you think?
Sure.
It's 3. And there's 4. Now you can save your sugar and put it in with the butter. That's fine. You can also do it the way I'm doing it where it's all in with my dry. So now I'm going to whisk that into my browned butter. Ooh, that smells good.
And just as a hazard a guess, probably the sweet potatoes should go in next because the milk's probably going to cause it to thicken. Or at least thicken faster because it's going to be cooler.
Funny because these sweet potatoes, because most people think of the orange sweet potatoes from stateside.
I think of those as yams and the white ones as the sweet potatoes.
But this turned a little bit yellow. Which is kind of funny. They're yellowy green. I don't know. They're not a full on yellow and they're not a full on orange or white.
Well, when you've mixed it with butter and honey, it's going to be kind of...
No, that's the color it was before.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I'm just basically trying to break this down. These are homemade mashed puree, so it takes a little bit to kind of break that down. And there will be chunks in mine because somebody in my house likes mashed chunks.
Chunky.
So I'm going to go eggs next. So 2 eggs.
Hopefully by this point it's not warm enough to scramble them.
No, not at all. And then we'll go ahead and add our milk in. This is half a cup of milk. That's great. With the brown butter, it kind of looks like the nutmeg and the cinnamon's in this, but it's not. We're going to add our cornmeal and flour mixture and try and incorporate the two. This is something you kind of want to do a little bit slower because you want to try and keep this from having too many chunks. So the slower you incorporate it, the better it goes. Everything is nicely incorporated. As you can see, we are in the pan. I didn't do muffin cups today just because I didn't feel like dealing with them.
Whoa. Muffins.
And now they're going to go in for 15 to 18 minutes. You're going to wait until they're golden brown to pull them.
All right, so everything is done.
By magic, the cornbread muffins are out of the oven and cooled and ready to go.
Yes, and they're
Perfect.
well done and not collapsed and gooey like the first one.
The question is, are they moist?
So,
Bite.
they're looking pretty good.
Mister, I smell my food.
That's good. It's got a nice creamy texture to it, but it's also still a little crumbly and cornbready, so that works marvelously.
The one thing to note is doing your own puree. Mine was not as finely pureed, which means that it did not have as much moisture in it. But I knew that. I kind of headed that up again. I knew beforehand. So these would be great with some honey, some butter, or nothing at all. And our chili is done.
Yep, we've got that. We've got our chili. Melissa's already bowled us up and done her Instagram thingy.
Or our cover, our thumbnails.
Thumbnails, something or another. So anyway, cheddar cheese, shredded, and sour cream. Now, I did not always eat chili with sour cream. Minnie Moo has always tried to kill the squeakies in her chewy.
Oh, that's the one I found in the sofa today.
Ah. But I went to a restaurant, I think it was in D.C. It was a chili restaurant. It's the only place I've ever been that all they sold was chili. And one of the ways they served it was cornbread at the bottom of the bowl and cheese and sour cream on top. And sour cream and chili makes a really good creamy flavor to it. So that's what we're doing.
Sorry, I'm just enjoying this cornbread. It's really good. My dad would have loved it.
So a little pre-mix. Pre-mixed chili here. So the beans have that good texture. You can still tell that they're beans. They've got that flavor and consistency to them, but they just mush down when you bite on them, so they're cooked all the way through.
Sorry, were you waiting for mine as well?
Only if you want.
Well, it would only be fair. I did just like eat an entire cornbread muffin there. They were so. I've been wanting those for a while. They're so good.
So I didn't have stewed tomatoes this time, so we had to use diced tomatoes, but that gives you little chunks of tomato in there as well.
I like it like this though. So we used, instead of chili powder, a chipotle.
That's a chipotle chili powder.
Chipotle chili powder, and I like the level of complexity that it added, because it definitely adds to that. It does not take away from it at all. Oh, you could smell the difference too when it was cooking. Like you smell it in the other room.
We'll mix this up a little bit.
Then you're gonna put your cornbread.
That gives you that weird orange color chili. But if you're like, some people that don't do spice very well, the little hit of dairy in there helps takes the edge off.
Whoa there, sir. Do we not agree that I'm much better on my spice levels?
Yeah, I said like some people.
Okay.
Why are you taking everything personal?
Because I'm a white girl, and you talked about my spice levels.
Why is everything about you?
Now, if it was pumpkin spice, I'd be in trouble because I'm not a pumpkin spice girl. I can, but I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin spice. Like somebody around here likes his pumpkin spice waffles. Oh.
I like pumpkin waffles.
I make you pumpkin spice waffles.
Your pumpkin waffles. Everything else is a misprint.
Oh, okay. So I didn't put any spice in it?
No.
Okay. Suki's like, yeah, right. All right, how is it with the cornbread?
That is really good. Once you mix the cheese and the sour cream in, it does kind of blunt the outer edge of the chili pepper taste, but everything else kind of smooths together.
May's like, I would like to test the theory of the sweet potato cornbread.
Now, you can eat it piecemeal like this, where you just put a little chili over each bite of it and eat it like that, or you can crumble this stuff up and mix it all together, and it makes almost a paste.
So, putting the sweet potato cornbread, like just plain cornbread with chili, awesome. but adding the level of sweet potato to it gives it an extra level of sweet that really complements that chili very nicely.
It does.
And Mayhem's like, I really want to try that. I know, May. I made you sweet potatoes, Butter. I made you sweet potatoes.
It is crazy how much a little bit of change alters the flavor of chili. A little bit of daisy, a little bit of dairy, a little bit of sour cream. Smooths it out. Add a little honey sweet potato muffin to it, and that's a whole nother beast.
This is our good goods. Our good goods.
So I'm a good myself all the way to the bottom of this bowl.
Sorry guys, we're not going to talk much during this dinner because we're going to be too busy eating. Because this is really good.
Yeah, so go make your own. It's good stuff.
It's fall, y'all.
Hey.
So make your chili because it's chili season.
Yes.
It's chili and sweaters and...
Well, almost.
Well, it's going to be sweaters soon. But it's chili. It's time for chili.
It's always time for chili.
It's time for chili.
Yeah.
And we'll have leftovers of this.
Yes.
Chuck is very happy about that.
So, like, subscribe, do the internet stuff, go cook some food. See you later.